Hello and welcome back to the Brand Big Podcast, where we highlight high achieving female founders and the bold, innovative, and genuine stories behind their brands. I am your host, Jonatta, and today I am joined by real estate expert and content creator, Mrs. Telia JnBaptiste, who is making a huge, might I say, big impact in the marketplace as well as in ministry by empowering women all over the globe to live and build in authenticity. Let me tell you a bit about Talia. So, Talia JnBaptiste is a dedicated wife, accomplished real estate agent, dynamic content creator, and the proud mother of almost four, we'll say three for now, based in Atlanta, Georgia. And she expertly balances her roles as a wife, mother, and business owner. And Talia is committed to transparency and authenticity in using social media to share the realities of marriage, business, and motherhood. As the founder of the Kingdom Woman Collective, a thriving women's ministry, she is passionate about empowering women to excel both at home and in the marketplace. Welcome, Talia, and thank you so much for coming to the Brand Big Podcast.
Hi, and thank you for having me, Jonatta.
Yes, it is such an honor to have you on today. And I'm excited about what our audience is getting ready to hear. And so, Talia, I have given them the more formal introduction, but will you just tell us who you are and in your own words?
I'm a daughter of Yahweh, first of all. I'm a wife that is, I always like to say Mistress Telia JnBaptiste. People like titles, but I really
Mm-hmm,
love
mm-hmm.
Mistress. That's my favorite title, Mistress. I love being called
Yes.
Mistress Telia JnBaptiste. I've been married for almost 10 years. December will make 10
Wow.
years. I have three beautiful children, Joy, Judah, Jael, and one on the way.
Yay.
Yes, so that's exciting. I share my life on social media as much as the Holy Spirit permits and as much as I am comfortable. I am the founder of the Kingdom Woman Collective, which is a new ministry that I am nursing and birthing in this season. I am also a real estate agent. Um, yeah, I think that's the least fascinating thing about me being a real estate agent. I enjoy being wife and mommy.
Yes.
And so that calling, that portion of my calling, I am most proud of.
Amazing. And I love how you wear them all so well. Like there's a grace, and we're going to get into that as we're flowing into this interview. But there's just such a grace on you, Talia, and the way that you operate and how you are the wife, the mom, the minister, the entrepreneur. And I don't want to get too deep into that because I have something to ask you about that. But
Okay.
we're gonna flow into that in just a bit. And so
Okay.
it's just amazing to see how you do it all, girl. It
Thank you.
really, really is.
Thank
It
you.
is. And so, Talia, will you tell us about your background before you became the successful woman, the successful female founder that you are today?
Well, I am originally from the Bahamas, born and raised. I was born in Nassau, but I was raised on a small island called Abaco in a small
Okay.
community of maybe, I would say, if 1,000 people at max, right in my
Okay.
community. I was raised there. I grew up Baptist.
Okay.
I was a church girl. I was
I was
always
too,
in
girl.
church. I was everyone's funeral, everything. I was always in church.
Mhm.
Um, and my siblings used to make fun of me. They're like, "You always in church." I literally would open up the church with like the usher who would open, his name was Whoa. That's what they called him, Vernal. I would open the church up with him, open the windows because we didn't have AC.
Oh,
Girl, I was a church
wow.
girl. Once I graduated high school, life happened with
Yeah.
family. And so experienced some family trauma, different things. And
Mhm.
at that point, me leaving home, I had completely started to change. Like life had
Wow.
life. And I was like, where
Mhm.
is this God? So
Mhm.
once I left home, that was it. I was a city girl, dedicated city girl, literally. I think it was. So I graduated high school in 2009.
Okay.
I went to college where I met my husband. We were just met him. He was a tutor. I
Wow.
was failing biology. And
Girl, I made a D, so hey, we there together.
I don't even think I ever passed that class. So
Torture.
um, I was failing biology. And so I went to college for, I think I went to that college for either a semester or a year before I dropped out,
Okay.
and then returned home shortly after that. No, I didn't even go home. Where did I go? Texas.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And that is where I encountered God.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a city girl, like
Mhm.
through and through.
Mhm.
I won't.
Mhm. Mhm.
Carisha wasn't out back then, but if she was, she would have been busting through my car speakers. I'm telling you. But that is Texas is where I met God.
Wow.
And I met God, and we never want a rough story, but mine is I met
Right.
God after I had an abortion.
Mhm. Mhm.
Reintroduced to this God. And
Wow.
that is the very first moment that I can truly say that I had an encounter with God in my closet. After an abortion where I was considering committing suicide,
My
that's where God
God.
met me. And that is where the change started. And ultimately, God made me leave Texas. I ended up back in the Bahamas,
Wow.
struggling.
Wow.
And I think about a year into me moving back to the Bahamas, my now husband sent me a message. I was on fire for God. I was telling everybody they're going to hell. You know when you fresh and you new in it,
Yes. Yes.
get
Yes.
saved or you
You
gonna get
gotta
out.
get saved. That's it. That's
So
it.
I was on fire making Facebook posts, and he slid in my DMs and he was just like, "Hey, it's good to see that you're living for Christ." I read between the lines and I was like,
Right.
"I know
Right.
you like me." And I think that is where everything that's where the new Talia really started to emerge.
Wow. Wow. Oh my goodness. There's so much in that
So
that we
much
could unpack. Oh my goodness.
much.
So, Talia, look, I go off script all the time, right?
Mhm.
And I just feel led to just dive into this for a second because you talked about how we love the pretty stories of how people come to Christ and it's just beautiful encounter and they go to the altar whether in their, private space at home or they're in a physical church location. But it doesn't always start like that. Like
No,
some of us, God has to take us through something very dramatic,
because we
right?
don't
And
listen because we're stubborn.
exactly, exactly, and to see where you are today. And none of us have arrived, right? I don't care how far or how high we go.
Yes.
There is more for us to do and more areas for us to grow in. But to see how God has elevated you in these spaces. And he even blessed you with your husband, like coming to pursue you when living that city girl life. You would have been out there, right? Because I know me. I was pursuing them.
But Jonatta, that's how I got him. I gave him my number.
Ooh, 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 girl. And so God, like this is blessing me so much already. And we're not even deep diving yet, but just to see like where the audience is about to be brought into and where you are today,
Yeah.
how the Lord has just orchestrated every step, right? And we can oftentimes feel like, well, I did this, I had an abortion, or I had a baby out of wedlock, or whatever the case may be. And we don't even remember how God uses people all throughout the Bible. He used people who had stories that were crazy. Like Paul, he was murdering the saints. And then he went up and
Rahab.
became an apostle. I mean, really? The whole prostitute.
Yeah,
And then God
right.
used her, the bloodline of Jesus.
Come
Come
on.
on. So that is so amazing. All right. So as an entrepreneur, Talia, what are some of the lessons that you've learned and some of the challenges you had to overcome? Take us into that, girl.
I Lord of mercy. I my story is a bit interesting. Is as a mom of I'm a stay-at-home mom, first of all,
Mhm.
a wife.
Yes.
So going into real estate, which is now the field that I'm in,
Mhm.
it took it took a lot. I think it took a lot first spiritually for God to do the work for me to even believe that I could do this, that I was worthy of this thing, that I could be successful in this thing. It
Right.
also took the support of my husband to encourage me and to push me and to remind me of who I am,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it took me, okay, I'm gonna give this thing a try. And in the busyness of life, like to attend classes and to do certain things, it took so much out of me. And I felt honestly, I felt a little, I was like, should I be doing this? Because as a mom,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mom. I'm not just a
Right.
mom, stay at home
Stay
mom.
at
That's
home mom.
what I
Right.
do.
That's a high level of dedication.
Right. So during that season, my husband had to take on a lot of the responsibility, and he works full time and he works a lot. And so there
Wow.
was a lot of guilt, honestly, and there was also some shame associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
Shame in being just, like the world says, just a stay-at-home mom. And then
Right.
shame in that, am I sacrificing my family to pursue this thing? Like it was such a tug.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, I did it. I passed my exam,
Yeah.
and that is when I know that was exciting, but then the real work really started.
Right.
My first year, I didn't sell not one house.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Mm-hmm.
really rough.
Mm-hmm.
I struggled with that, and then what happened was, I think I lost, not think, I know I lost track of God's intention for me coming into real estate.
Right.
And I got so caught up in what I was seeing other real estate agents doing that I
Yes.
started to mimic that. I started to push myself to do these things, to market myself in certain ways when that's not what God had called me to.
Exactly.
And I did it and it was hard. Now, coming into my second year, it worked. I
Wow.
sold about 3.3 million my second year in real estate, and
Wow.
it was wonderful. But you know what? I was out of position and I was out of
Mm.
alignment. I was actually walking in disobedience. And
Ooh.
because even though I was successful in real estate in the marketplace, my home was suffering because I was out of
Mm.
place.
Wow.
Home suffered. My marriage was
Wow.
struggling. I was severely frustrated and irritated with my children because to make those numbers, I was constantly working. There was no
Exactly.
time when I wasn't working. And it was like my children, my family, they were getting in the way of
Mm-hmm.
my work, my
Mm. Oh,
and
that's so good.
I remember the Lord told me, He was like, this is not what I told you to do. You lost track of it. And He said, if you don't correct it, I'm gonna shut it down.
Mm.
Oh girl, and shut it down, He did.
Woo. Woo.
Shut it down, He did.
Woo.
It dried up.
Wow.
And when it dried up, I was not upset. I wasn't ashamed because I knew why.
Yes.
And so I started to do the work to get back in position, to get my house back in order.
Right.
Because I believe if my house is in order, if I'm doing what I should be doing as a wife, as a mother, God will add all those things unto me.
Mm.
And so it took me
So
a
good.
year, literally a year, to get my house back in order,
Wow.
to get my mind back into alignment. And real estate flowed, and I would have clients. But if I had to sacrifice my family, I wouldn't do it. I
Mm.
wouldn't take on the client. But then I started to, it made me also implement systems and back end systems and strategies and different things in my business. I
Yes.
had, because I would work all the time. If my client texted
Right.
me at 2 a.m., I was
Right.
responding.
Right.
I had to put in implement business hours. I had to implement getting a transaction coordinator, outsourcing what I could outsource.
Right.
It taught me a lot. It taught me that I can have it all, but I cannot do it all.
Ooh. Ooh.
That was the biggest lesson in that.
Ooh. That's so good, Talia. Like somebody out there needed to hear that because we oftentimes, as women, we are so used to carrying, right? We carry the babies, we carry the burdens of other people. Men are called to be intercessors, but women, most oftentimes, we're the ones who are showcased when you think of intercessor. And we're carrying those burdens. We're carrying other people when we certainly should not be all the time, right?
The whole
We're to
world.
cast all our burdens to the Lord. However, we get caught up in the things, and I even want to go back, which goes in agreement with what you're saying and what you just shared, how you talked about us getting so caught up in doing the thing, right? That we start to become somebody else. and we're overlooking the original design of how God has planned everything out in our lives for us, and we start to go according to the plan of other people when we don't even know their source. Sometimes, I mean, people can profess and say what they want to say, right? But oftentimes they're mimicking somebody else. So then here we come doing the same thing, and it gets played out really, really fast, especially when
Mhm.
it comes to your brand, because a brand should be unique. Every brand that we know and we love that's big, that we've flocked to for years, ages, right? We know there's something unique, even if they sell the same things, right? Real
Mhm.
estate agents selling houses, but there are differences. There's a uniqueness to each real estate agent.
Yeah.
And so to see you and to hear your testimony of how you even had to just reset, allow the Holy Spirit, first of all, you heard him and then you obeyed. Because that's the big part of it right there. If we don't hear him clearly, because there are often times where we're just out here doing the thing and we get so caught up in it that we can't hear him. And then we wonder
Yeah.
why we're frustrated, and how you talked about, I've been there as well, how you talked about you were just frustrated with your children because they were in the way. Like, I have one, you had three. So I can only imagine.
Yes.
But having my daughter, there are times
Mhm.
where I've had to catch myself. And I'm like, wait a minute. She deserves me being present. Yes, I'm going after this and I'm creating a space for her to have a future, but her present now needs
Yes.
to be just as beautiful,
That's
even if
priority.
it, exactly. Even if she doesn't know all the workings and the things I'm doing behind the scenes, she's going to remember how mommy treated her at the age she's at now. And that's going to carry on. And
Yes.
that will, be the fruit produced later in our relationship.
Yes.
And so I love how God had you to do that. You reset, you reflected on what had happened, and then you were like, wait a minute. If the home, because I have this saying, Talia, if the home front isn't good, I don't care what people think on the outside.
Yeah.
I don't care what they have to say. I don't care what they think it looks like, right? Because they don't know my whole life anyway. I don't
Mhm.
give them a camera to follow me around. We're not on reality TV over here.
Yeah.
So it's just so important to make sure that the background and the home life is secured before anything is created outside.
My private life
And
is important to me, and a lot of people,
yes,
they want their social media and their public life to be good and glitz and glammy and looking perfect, but home is in
exactly.
shambles. And for me, it's the opposite. How I
Exactly.
show up on social media, how people see me on social media, that's secondary.
Exactly.
Home, what you and I let me tell you something, Jonatta. What you see on my social media
Mhm.
is my highlight reel, right? And this
Yes.
home life is so wonderful. And sometimes
Ooh.
I'm afraid to say it. I used to be afraid to say it. Let me say that.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a wonderful marriage,
I love
a
that.
great marriage, a wonderful husband, beautiful children, well mannered, well spoken, in touch with their emotions. Like
Yes.
we always get praise on when people encounter our children, filled with the Holy
Right.
Ghost, speaking in tongues. I mean, come on.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
I have a wonderful home life. That's what's most important. So when I post, it's a reflection of what's going on in my private life.
Right.
If my home is in shambles, I don't be posting.
No, no, no. We ain't doing that. Oh, we got to make sure home is well.
Yeah, I'm not the fake it till you make it.
No,
Gotta get
absolutely
this
not.
everything on my focus. If God is telling me or I'm sensing, Lord, like he said, pulling me like, hey, you need to pay more attention to home, all of my attention. I will come. Everyone tell me, Talia, you always disappear with the quickness. I will get up
Listen,
so fast and put all of the focus that I got, all of the energy that I got into my private life
listen, listen. Jesus did it. He stole away all the
all
time.
the
They be
time.
like,
Where
where's
Jesus
Jesus?
at?
And now people like, where's Talia? Like, what
Yeah.
happened?
And people see me as this successful real estate agent,
Hmm.
and everyone will have their opinion on it.
Right.
And my husband and I recently became investors this year. So the Lord has
Yes.
literally, once I got into alignment with what
Hmm.
God told me, I'm not making it, I can be honest, I'm not making as much money as I did, but
Hmm.
I'm making enough money. No, I can make some more, Lord. I'm making some money for not working as hard, like through
Yes.
and through, especially
Yes.
through referrals. Like, let me tell you something. The Kingdom Girlies, they got my back. They're like,
I
you
love
Florida,
it.
talk to Talia. In Georgia, she'll connect you with who you know. Like
I love that.
the Christian community, yeah, the girls have had my back.
That's
One
so
hundred
beautiful.
percent.
I love that. And
Yes,
that's necessary.
necessary.
Because how in the book of Acts, you remember how it talks about everybody having all things in common, right? And them being able to share. That's what I look at referrals as, people sharing their network of wealth. And if I know somebody in need of a house in Georgia, I'm gonna send them to you. Like I don't know nobody else down there selling houses
Right.
anyway. So you got a monopoly, so to speak, with me. But it should be that way when we know a friend or a covenant, sister or brother is in the business of doing something. That's how the Jewish community lives. They
Yeah.
make sure that if they have a business, they're telling someone else who can benefit from it. And then maybe they barter services, but it's continuing that cycle of favor and blessing.
Yeah.
And so
But
that's exactly.
I'll tell you something else. People
Yeah,
don't really come to me because of my accomplishments in real estate or what I know. They come to me because of God.
exactly.
They've seen the God in me. They see in the fruit of my labor. They see the marriage. They see kingdom, and that's
Exactly.
what makes people attracted to me. I
Exactly.
know what it is. I know it's not me. It's not my track record. It's
Exactly.
God. And so I don't have to market like everybody else. God sends out a clarion call in the spirit for me.
Woo!
As long as I
Yes.
stay in alignment, he's gonna do the work. He's gonna do the marketing work in the spirit.
That's it. That's it. And that's supernatural.
Right.
Mm,
But we have to be in alignment
that's
and in his
it.
will and in right
Oh,
position and in right
listen,
standing.
listen. Don't get in my Bible study from this morning, Talia. Oh my goodness. Girl, I was reading Isaiah 62, and this is so side notish for the podcast, but it goes with what you're saying, where God was speaking to the people, the Israelites, and he was saying, he wouldn't be quiet until Zion would become a praise in the earth, and until Jerusalem was the righteousness that Jerusalem is called to be. And the Holy Spirit just stopped me in that, and he said it wasn't just, and it goes on to talk about God giving Jerusalem a new name, Zion a new name, right? And the Lord said it wasn't just about me changing the name, it was also about me getting my people in right position. Because when they're in right position and they're operating in righteousness, right, their rightful places, and they're walking in dominion, then their name has to change. Because you
Yeah,
can't be in mediocrity and God just say, okay, I want to change your name. No, you have to be in your place of prominence, your place of high esteem,
that's
so
kingdom
that then listen. That's
principles.
it. That's
There are
it.
principles that there are principles that now that are tools that we need to navigate the spiritual realm, and people don't understand this. God is a
That's
God of
it.
law, of order, of
He
principles.
is. He is. And when we don't follow them, then we praying like, God, I can't. God, I want. He's
Just
like, but
always
did you
crying, always crying for something.
exactly? But did you follow my word?
Mhm.
I laid it out for you. It's not there for you to just read and skim over. No, it's
Yeah,
literally your guidebook.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. This episode is sponsored by FBTS. Hey, female founders and YouTube friends. In addition to serving as the host of the Brand Big podcast, I am also the founder of FBTS, an innovative branding and design agency. And so what we do is we humanize brands. And in humanizing brands, we empower female founders, startups, and corporations to authentically connect with their communities and increase their marketability. And so, as my free gift to you, I want to offer you a 15-minute brand consultation where you and my team can sit together and discuss how we can help you do that very same thing. View today's show notes to learn how you can sign up for your 15-minute complimentary brand consultation. And now, let's get back to today's episode. Okay, so Talia, now I want to jump into this because we're flowing, right? There's a flow. Being a wife, being the mom that you are, which I just love. Like you can teach all of us mama something. I don't care how old we are, right? But being a wife, being a mom, being an entrepreneur, you have created such a flow, right? The Holy Spirit through you has created such a flow, and it's just a cadence that I know personally, me seeing it, I've not seen it before.
Mhm.
And we can see women, they have the home life, and you think about Joanna and Chip and how they have the Magnolia home. Everybody's like, oh, that's so beautiful. But yours is kingdom. First of
Mhm.
all, that's the difference that I see. And secondly, you're not putting on. I knew when I met you last year through Erlene, shout out to Erlene, that the woman that God has created you to be is so different from what our generation has seen before. And you are literally walking out what a lot of mamas would not do. You're walking out the words of the Lord that other women, even in your bloodline, the generation of people, that birthed you, they didn't yield to the Lord the way you have.
Mhm.
And you don't showcase that, right? I'm fully flowing off of what the Holy Spirit is showing me.
Mhm.
And it is so, so powerful to see you as a young woman, right, of color at that, Bahamian, right, at
Period.
that. And in our generation, we need to see this. We need to see that God would bless you despite what challenges you had to face and overcome, right? And put you in this position of prominence, of high esteem, where you are the wife, the mom, and you're not complaining. I'm not saying it doesn't get hard. I'm not saying it doesn't get challenging, but you are walking that out again with such a cadence, such a flow. So what is the story behind that? That's innovation. That's Holy Spirit innovation, Talia. So tell us, how did you get there?
So when I first got married, even I always knew there was something different about me. Even before I was married, I would always say I'm meant to be a wife. I never fit into the girlfriend role. I was always doing wife things, and it made a mess.
Yeah.
There was no blueprint for the woman that I just felt like I desired to be. I would I saw more of what I did not want to be, and so
Yeah.
I kind of swayed away from that side of it, but
Hmm.
what I desired to be, who I saw myself in my head, I never there wasn't an example of it, and so that was really hard.
Wow.
Once I got married, I moved from the Bahamas to Boston with my husband, and that was complete isolation. I didn't have any friends there,
Wow.
any family, it was just us. And shortly after I moved, I got pregnant and I suffered for a very long time. It was just me, postpartum depression. Um, and like we say, we want pretty stories, but my suffering
Mm,
suffered a lot. And
mm.
I can cry thinking back, and I wish I could just reach back and tell that woman, like that girl, like you're gonna make it out. Like
Yes.
this is for a purpose. God's
Woo.
gonna use it. But at the time, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I didn't see that this is who God was pruning, but there were some things culturally familiar, things that I needed to get rid of, things that I needed to be detoxed from culture,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the generational curses, things that we needed to deal with. I needed
Yes.
to be established as Courtney's wife,
Mm.
pulled away from everything or anyone that could sway any decision because I was really big. And I'm gonna tell you something: Black people, Caribbean people,
Listen.
there ain't nothing thicker than blood, right?
Listen.
And so I believe now looking back that God had to separate me for a very long time.
Wow.
And I didn't see the beauty in it. I didn't, and we was on top of that, we ain't had no money. So imagine
Listen.
that made it worse.
The struggle.
And so, but we never, even in that, like with my husband, we never lacked.
Mm.
Um, in that season where he was on a student stipend. When I married my husband, he was a student.
Wow.
A
Wow.
student, right? Living in Boston, right?
Ooh.
So I believe it is those years that processed us
Mhm.
and that proved us.
Mm.
People couldn't see, when people didn't pay any attention to us. Who
Wow.
are you? You know,
Yes. Yes.
my husband, the son of a farmer and a school teacher. I
Wow.
am the daughter of a stay-at-home mom and a fisherman. People didn't
Wow.
pay any attention to us. We were being
Wow.
processed, we were being pruned, we
Woo.
were going through it. And that is what developed us as a husband and wife.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, my man, all day, every day, everybody who knows me, calls
Celebrate
me
him, girl.
my husband. He is a man after God's own heart, a man of
I love
integrity.
that.
And it is in those times where I know it was hard, but he did what the word said and he washed me with the word.
Mm.
Patient with me. He loved me like Christ loved the church. He
Yes.
walked with me in those dark times when I experienced depression. He picked me
Ooh.
up. And before God presented me to the world, my husband had already helped God do the work,
Mm.
clean me up. I was a mess behind closed doors. I wasn't always
Ooh.
his wife. I wasn't always his mom. I didn't always have
My
this
goodness.
mindset. Right.
Wow.
But thank God for the covering
Yes.
that he gave.
Yes.
And my husband is a big part of my story, a
Yes.
huge part of my story.
Yes.
I am not just a wife, I am Courtney's wife. I
Yes.
am a direct reflection of who he is and the work that he has done in the spirit.
Ooh.
From the mess that I was, from a
Ooh.
city girl to a kingdom woman.
My God. Talia, you
Being
gonna come up in here and mess me up. Look, I'm taking this one for myself. The
girl,
audience, they get what they get, but this is for
yes.
me.
But
Oh
you know
my
what it took?
goodness.
It took me truly submitting
Mm.
to the covering of my husband for God to do what he needed to do in me
My
and through me.
goodness.
I am who I am. And you know, sometimes I wouldn't say things because of the world, but I am who I am because of my husband. I'm
Mm.
Courtney's wife, a true and a direct reflection of who he is, of who
Ooh.
this man is in the spirit. You see me, I represent him.
That's it. That's kingdom.
And my husband doesn't talk a lot. Like people know him because of me. They're like, people know him because of me. And he's like, who is that? Who is that? Courtney. And people boast
Wow.
of my husband. They talk highly of my husband because I've represented him well.
Mm.
He can stand proudly at the city gates and not be ashamed because his
Woo.
wife has
Come
represented
on here, Proverbs
him right.
31 wife.
And so part of my becoming, honestly, and my submitting to what God wanted to do was because I saw what he was destined to do. And as a wife, my heart was like, I have a mandate in this earth that my husband is going to accomplish that which the Lord put him here to. And if I don't
That's it.
submit, if I don't yield, he's not going to do that.
Ooh.
And that was something, honestly, my heart for him.
Ooh.
So the posture of my
Wow.
heart was, Lord, you've shown me who my husband is. I see who he is. I see his dedication behind closed doors, him praying late at night. And we've been married for 10 years. But this has been
Wow.
my husband's posture.
Ooh.
How
Wow.
can I not be changed? How can I not be great? How can I not shine as a light when that
Ooh.
who is covering me?
My God. Ooh, Talia. Girl.
And he's not just a spiritual man, he's a very intellectual man. My husband has a
Wow.
PhD from MIT. He is a biologist. He's not
Wow.
just, you know, people say you just, it's not just one sided.
Right.
So in
Right.
every aspect, I've had to level up, even professionally, because I want to represent him well. And you know why
My
I want
goodness.
to represent him well? Because he has loved me well in private.
Wow. Wow. That's
Girl,
that is so multi-layered, like multi-dimensional.
it's a lot.
Woo.
He is, and because of who he is,
Wow.
because of the work, because of the man that he is, I am.
Mm. And you're fully yielded to that. That's the beauty for
Fully.
me.
It was a little struggle in the beginning, but and you know why I'm fully yielded because I see the fruit of it.
Yes.
I believe that we
Yes.
are blessed because
Yes.
there is order.
Mm. Oh my goodness.
Perfection, no. Order, yes.
Oh my goodness. You know how we oftentimes in the marketplace, right? We think about a business and its success and all that, right? But if the head is out of order, that's when you begin to see the problems with the structure, the strategies, the systems, or the lack thereof.
Yes.
And you even mentioned that God had you to implement systems and strategy and structure in your home first, and then the business as well. And the very fact of the whole matter is that God is the head over your whole household.
Hmm.
And then your husband, like you said, being in that position and him having the tenacity to stay with God these 10 years and probably before y'all got married. Like,
When I was a city girl, he was saved.
yeah. Okay. Okay. So sounds like brother man just he's not playing any games. And I love that.
Yes.
And he lets you shine,
Yes.
right? Not
Yes.
holding you back. Because there are
Yes.
some men who are threatened and intimidated by the woman, the white, right,
I
going
know.
out there and doing the thing. And he fully supports you. And I ain't never
Fully.
seen him except
Mhm.
social media. I've never seen him, never met him.
Yeah.
But I know that he is fully pushing you in the spirit and on the earth to
Yeah.
be all of who God has created you to be. And
Yes.
that's not, you know, how a lot of us can be independent women, which is not of God, right? He knows that that's inclusive of your family unit, because
Yes.
when you shine, he shines. And like you said, when he shines, you shine. All the children are shining always because the two of you are in rightful position and right standing with God. Like,
When you know what, my real estate, the reason I got into real estate was for our family, right? We had always
mm,
had dreams of being investors, but I got sidetracked.
wow,
And
wow.
now my husband had pushed me into real estate. You can do this, you can do this. And now when he's considering investment deals, when he's considering things, when he has contracts, who's reading over it? Me.
Ooh,
I am his
ooh.
meat in
Listen,
spirit, in the home, and in the marketplace. I read over the
listen.
contracts. If I say it's a
Ooh,
go, it's a go. If I say no, it's no.
mm, mm.
Mhm.
We're just gonna call y'all the Proverbs 31 family, okay? This is beautiful and it has blessed me so much, Talia. But I know, being the beautiful wife and mom that you are, you have to get back to your family soon. So I'm not gonna hold you much longer. But I want to ask you this, and you know, if it's a prophetic flow you feel like releasing or just a word of encouragement, what would you say to that woman who has been where you are and is ambitious, thinking about all the things in life she wants, but hasn't fully yielded to the Lord's plan? Yet she knows that she has the big ideas. God has called her to build a bold, innovative, and genuine brand. What would you say to her?
I would say be patient in the season that you are, in the quiet season, in the season where God is building you, when you feel like God, everyone is elevating, everyone is running and shaking and doing this and doing that. If God has called you to a season of stillness where He needs to undo a lot of things in you, allow Him to do that, right? Sometimes we go ahead of God, or sometimes we even allow people to push us ahead of God. Like they see the potential, they see it, and they're like, hey, you do this, you do that, not knowing that there is so much more pruning to do, right? Before a tree can produce good fruit, sometimes you produce fruit and you be like, okay, this sour, I need to cut some limbs, I need to prune it. Just because you produce fruit doesn't mean that it's good.
Mm,
Allow God to prune you, allow God to process you. I've been married for 10 years. 10 years this year, and this is the year that I've seen people really flock to my husband and I, and we don't really do anything. I don't boast about my marriage. I don't post like a lot of marriage content and all these things, but they know us by our fruit. They know us by the spirit. Um and it's not long as it feels like, 'cause sometimes you could feel like you're in a season for so long and there's no way out. You don't feel like there's any way out. Depression, you don't have any money, you don't have this. Like y'all, I was wearing synthetic wigs. I would never now, right? Because the Lord He has made a way.
Woo!
But there was a season of us not being able to buy clothes. There was a season where when we had roommates, when we first got married, when we had our child, we had roommates. And then God moves us when we had been processed. We moved from one place, literally from Boston, from Massachusetts to Georgia. Came
Wow.
here, purchased our first house. In 3.5 years, we sold that house. Jonatta and I live in a beautiful home. It's a big house,
Yes.
but this isn't our doing,
Mm.
right? When people see this, they don't see when we had roommates as a married couple. They
Wow.
don't see when I was pregnant, we didn't have a car. I thought I was having a miscarriage. I had to walk to the
Mm.
train station because I didn't want to call the ambulance because I didn't want to rack up any debt. People didn't see that,
Whew.
but they see this.
That's
And
it.
sometimes they can judge me off of this. Who does she think she is?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Who does she think she is? Or she did, but baby, I've been through it. I've
Whew.
been processed. And when I share my life, when God tells you to share your life, make sure that your heart is right, right? That it's coming from a
Yes.
good place. What is the posture of your heart? And I'm staring off God, but what is the posture of your heart in your social media posts? Are you
Mm.
boasting? Or are you
Mm.
sharing what God told you so that it can encourage someone else? What is the posture? What does it feel like? Boast in the Lord, but not of yourself. And as kingdom people, as entrepreneurs, as um, when I talk about certain achievements, when I talk about the house, it's for a reason, right? I have now three house miracles. Uh,
Whew.
Families getting their house. They connected with us. One of them actually came to my house. She sat in it. She was like, Talia, my
Wow.
husband and I, we prayed with her. We believed with her. She closed on a house on her husband. 3 months later, a house bigger than what they thought they could afford for less mortgage, right? And so
Wow.
when we share, it's not to boast, it's to sow a seed. And
That's it.
so let your heart always be in right standing.
Mm.
Always surround yourself with people who act like as a mirror, who can correct you and who can show you, like, hey, Talia, that post seemed a little boastish and not of God.
That's it.
But in the processing, it all works together for His good.
Yes.
And this is just the beginning of our story, right?
Mm.
This is the beginning of the manifestation. Some 10 years later in marriage, this is just the beginning.
That's
10
it.
years later is just the beginning.
Wow. Wow.
And so I would encourage you to not compare your year 1 to my year 10,
Mm. That is so good.
because the other 9 years is ghetto.
Oh my goodness. That's so good, Talia. Oh my goodness.
I think one more thing. I think my heart for women is that we come into the true revelation of who God made us, right? Equal in being with men, but different in function.
Mm.
Our function, our functions are different. We were made
Exactly.
feminine and dainty. Our voice, our beauty, our essence is
Exactly.
for a purpose and a reason. My husband and I complement each other, equal in being, different in function. What he does, I complement. What he can't do, I can do. Right. I have a
That's
way with my children of nurturing them and sweet, and he has a way of roughhousing and playing. And that's a balance. God knew what he was doing. So me,
yes.
Steve Harvey, and people telling us think like a man, do this, be independent. That's not who God made us to be. God made us to be
No.
soft and feminine
That's
and
it.
dainty and pink and sweet and
Yes.
smelling good and fix
Yes.
this and fix up yourself to reflect.
Yes.
You may not see it, but on the outside, dress yourself to reflect what you feel like or what you see or what God has shown you prophetically that you're meant
Yes.
to be.
Mm.
Get up every day and get dressed.
So good.
Speak life into yourself. Be kind to your spouse.
So
Be
good.
the essence, a sweet essence in your home. Like, girl, it's a lot. We're gonna need a part two.
We are. We are. We got to get you back and real soon.
I bring my husband too.
Yes. We need to hear some more.
Yes.
We really do. Because there, listen, I got um a request from a male friend. He's from Ghana. And he was like, well, what about us men? You only gonna have women on the podcast? I was like, well, let's see what God says. But yes, we have to have Courtney on.
I
We
will,
have to.
and he will come. He can come by himself. That's a, let me tell you something. That's a whole podcast in itself, him by himself. That's a
Woo.
whole episode. He is,
Listen,
if you, he is full, full.
you are full.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine the
He
man who is your husband, who covers you.
heavyweight.
Woo. Definitely. We
Yeah.
definitely have to have both of you back. Talia, this has been so good. It has been one of my favorite words, so rich, so powerful. And I thank you for blessing us on the Brain Big podcast. Will you let us know how our audience can connect with you?
You can connect with me, Telia JnBaptiste, on all social media platforms.
Awesome. That's how branding should be. We find you the same tag everywhere, everywhere. So this has been such a phenomenal episode. Female founders, our listeners, our viewers, our friends, we are just super excited for us to transition. We are moving. I know you noticed this is different. The last episode was different. We are transitioning so that we will be on Apple Podcasts and Spotify very, very soon. And this probably will be the first episode over there. So we're excited. Talia, she just ushered us into a new era. So this is amazing. And I am looking forward to the next episode. We again thank you, Talia, for joining us. And those of you who are listening, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.